to BC Place Stadium as we get set for a matchup of a pair of 2-2 teams. The Montreal Alouettes and the BC Lions. Damon Duval has kicked it off, and here's Ian Smart on the return. Up across the 30 and tripped up there. Sean Gallant brings him down. And Jarius Jackson, coming off back-to-back personal best passing performances, leads the Lions offense out.
And a change in the backfield for week 5 of the season. Joe Smith started the first 2, then gave way to Stephon Logan for the next 2. He's back in the lineup at the tailback spot. There's a receiving corps, been the same basically throughout the season. Geroy Simon with a couple of back-to-back huge games. And Dean Valley plays at guard for Sherko Hadji-Razuli.
Be interesting to see Joe Smith's production in this game. Jackson takes off on his own on the first play, and TJ Hill just moved into a tie for the tackle lead in the CFL as he brings Jarius down at the 39.
Montreal defensively come into tonight's game with Anwar Stewart, their leader in the front 4. He has a couple of sacks already this year. The linebacking core has Reggie Hunt in the middle. Big game, the defensive player of the week, Reggie Hunt, last week versus Saskatchewan. Diamond Ferry will switch with Dwayne Taylor. They'll roll in and out at the other spot. Matthew Prue plays in the middle at free safety.
Reggie said they finally let him out of his cage, and what a performance last week. Here's the second and short. Paris Jackson over the top and over Marcus Dell to the Alouette 41-yard line.
Good start for Paris Jackson, the leading Canadian receiver in the CFL after 4 weeks. Goes down the sideline, gets an isolation route on the backside here as Jarius Jackson puts all the receivers except Paris Jackson to the right side of the formation, just throws one up over the top.
30 yards to Paris Jackson. Jarius Jackson with 396 yards passing last week in the second straight win over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Jackson with time, looking for Geroy Simon. It's a record-setting catch for Geroy Simon. He has just surpassed Dirty 30 Jim Young on the all-time Lions list.
He only needed 4 yards to become the all-time BC Lion in yardage, and Jim Young is in the building. Geroy Simon, before the game, wore Young's number 30. There is a new leader in the record books, and there's a look at Dirty 30 himself, the great Jim Young.
19 yards for Simon. And the Lions look sharp on this opening drive. Jackson looks to the end zone. Paris Jackson almost brought it in one-handed. So the record catch, Jim Young moves aside and salutes the new all-time Lion leading receiver, number 81.
And he's one of the biggest fans with number 81. Geroy Simon is Jimmy Young, who played with the BC Lions between 1967 and 1979. Some very lean years for the Lions early on. Had a couple of winning seasons late in his career. Just shy of 10,000 yards for Jimmy Young, and Geroy Simon is the new leader.
By the way, he's 1 touchdown behind Jimmy Young on the all-time receiving list as well. That could fall here, and Jackson drilled as he delivered the football. Diamond Ferry with a clean shot on the line quarterback.
A little pressure once you get down close to the goal line. The Montreal Alouettes come with a little pressure from Diamond Ferry. They also send the safety, Matthew Prue, and Jackson takes a heavy hit, but does not turn the football over, so the Lions will have an attempt at a field goal.
Paul McCallum, 4 for 5 last week, comes on as Geroy Simon and Jim Young celebrate on the sidelines. And McCallum strikes first for the Lions. Field goal on the opening drive of the game. BC up 3-zip. First possession field goal for the Lions, and now Anthony Calvillo And the Alouettes will start at their own 35-yard line, and a handoff to Avon Coburn, and Coburn spurts across the 40 and has 7 on that pickup. Coburn not used much in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, his production has dropped just 6 yards last week, 23 the week before after a 100-yard game to start the season. The go-to guy for Anthony Calvillo is Kerry Watkins on the outside with 384 yards, and Josh Burke plays at tackle for Dave Mudge. Second start for Josh Burke.
Should qualify that Coburn hasn't been used much as a running back. He has the most catches in the CFL, 28. But they're on the ground here, and he bursts through the middle. Avon Coburn across the 35 and finally dropped by Corey Banks at the 30-yard line. Well, we wondered about the running game. It's back in the Alouette attack.
Well, just like that, they've done some self-scouting while they spent some extra time in Regina, Saskatchewan after their game last week. Spent some time as a team, and a great cutback here from Avon Coburn. That's what he does so well, to be able to cut quickly and cut back against the flow in the hole. And that running game looks like it is back for the Alouettes, and they need it back.
First gain was 1 more than all of last week. The second gain 30, 1 more than all of the last 2 weeks. And what a catch by Ben Cahoon. There's a trademark catch and a first down for the Alouettes at the Lion 20.
Just 133 yards for Cahoon coming in, which is a low number if you're just joining us in the Canadian Football League season. But the reason for that is he's worked in slowly due to injury in camp and just getting some more reps as each game goes by. But you know, the one guy on second down that Anthony Calvillo loves more than anything is Ben Cahoon.
And again, Coburn. Tyrone Williams bounced him outside, and Coburn still going down to the 1-yard line. Avon Coburn chewing up yards on the Alouettes' first possession.
His production fell so far off. 107 yards in game 1, 89 in game 2. The two games that the Montreal Alouettes won were won with great balance in their offense, and Avon Coburn was a huge part of that. And over the 2 games they've lost, Saskatchewan and Calgary, he has disappeared, and clearly the self-scouting is there. Avon Coburn early and often in this game.
The Coburn Project back in effect, and Adrian McPherson comes in a short yardage situation. First and goal from the 1. Trying to push ahead, and he is into the end zone. Touchdown, Alouettes. Second time they've scored a major on their opening drive in 2008.
Now, this team has been such great starters to football games, even the games they have outscored opponents coming into this game tonight, 42-2 in the first quarter. This 3 points by the BC Lions to start this game, the first time the defense has given up points in the first quarter, and they're always scoring early. 42 points so far this year, and once again, they're on their board early.
Damon Duval adding the extra point. These two teams have a history of shootouts. Looks like we're in for one tonight. Welcome back to Vancouver. The Montreal Alouettes have not won since 2000, trying to end a 7-game losing streak here on the West Coast. Back to work, and that was broken up by Reggie Miles, knocking down the Calvillo pass. And we'll set that Lion defense for you.
Front four that's played the entire season, led by Cameron Wake, 6 sacks, 18 tackles from Wake on the outside. The linebacking core, Javi Glatt in the middle. And what a game in the secondary last week by Corey Banks. 2 interceptions, 2 sacks, knockdowns, 5 tackles, all over the place. Number 24 at the halfback spot. Corey Banks had himself a game.
2nd and 10. Calvillo underneath Kerry Watkins, the catch and a first down as Watkins steps into Lions territory, dropped at the 47-yard line, his 24th catch of the year. He's been a favorite target for Anthony Calvillo.
You know, I remember last week we talked about how Henry Burris is one of the hottest quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League. And, you know, it's amazing to me how many times Anthony Calvillo, when you're talking about the top guys in the league, is often overlooked. His last 3 games have been outstanding. He's well over 300 yards in his last 3, even though the team has lost 2 of those 3. He's doing his thing.
352 last week against Saskatchewan. Now first down, they fake the end around to Cahoon, and now they'll swing it out to Cahoon. Otis Floyd there, and he bounces Cahoon out at the 39, but the last drive was done on the ground.
Well, it was, and it's plays right into the strength of Anthony Calvillo when he can establish a running game early. You remember all his years in an offense with Mike Pringle behind him. And Avon Coburn, obviously a very different style running back. But when Anthony Calvillo has a solid running game like he has early in this game with Coburn, watch how that opens up the pass through play action. And they've got another drive going right here.
5 plays, 75-yard touchdown drive, and Coburn had 3 rushes, 63 yards to set it up. 8 for Cahoon, so 2nd and 2. Back to Coburn, and Coburn will have the first down at the 35-yard line. It was a bit of a mystery. I know Matt Dunnigan discussed it last week, why they got away from Coburn, but clearly, as you say in the self-scouting, they have identified they've got to get 6 going on the ground again.
Well, yeah, part of that is play calling. And you know, Mark Trestman in the first couple of games, both wins, you see 347 yards passing, 52 rushing, I should say, 52 running plays, and that's dropped to 11 in the last 2, and that's basically the difference. Avon Coburn just hasn't seen the ball as much.
1st and 10, Calvillo under pressure, and this one almost picked off as Reggie Miles had a shot at the ball. That's really the first time the Lions have got some heat on Anthony Calvillo, and that has been a formula for success for BC in previous meetings.
Reggie Miles is the extra defensive back. He comes in and becomes the 6th DB in passing downs and has 3 interceptions, and the BC Lions have to start thinking run first, and that may take a little bit of time off their pass rush, although you're right, Chris, they had pressure on that last point.
26 sacks in the last 5 meetings for the Lions against Calvillo, who unloads looking for Watkins, and it was well overthrown and incomplete. And there's some jawing on the field as Coburn and Banks get back into it, and we saw a little of that in the pregame warm-up.
The reason for that is that Corey Banks went on a halfback blitz there, and Avon Coburn was the guy that was designed to come up and block him. And yeah, they were kind of jawing at each other in warm-up, and nothing really came of it. But the Montreal Alouettes are desperately looking to win on the West Coast. They haven't done it since 2000.
43-yard attempt for Duval at 90% on the year and has only missed from 54. Cahoon puts it down, and Duval puts it off the upright. Dead ball. We do have a flag. And was Duval bumped after kicking the football? Dante Marsh looks like he's going to be penalized.
Yeah, the kickers are protected in field goal formation too once the ball's kicked. Normally speaking, they have to have their legs in the air, and I think Marsh was arguing that he was pushed. It was tough to see from that angle whether he was pushed in the back.
BC number 31, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Well, there was a critical contact in the kicker penalty against Montreal last week that sustained a Saskatchewan touchdown drive, and now it works in Montreal's favor.
Well, let's take a look. You'll be able to see here at the bottom of your screen whether or not Marsh is pushed, and he is pushed. And that should not be a penalty.
Walter Spitzer pushed Marsh
and
into
Marsh
the kicker.
is trying to explain it.
And he also looked to another official to help maybe get the call overruled. Wally Bono won't like that. 1st and 10. Ben Cahoon unable to bring that one down.
Banks in the coverage again. It looks like Corey Banks is picked up right where he left off last week. coming on a couple of blitzes, causing problems in the backfield. Now he switches across from the middle of your screen, number 24. He's going to be in coverage on the underneath coverage on Ben Cahoon, and then he just breaks across. That ball tipped a little bit high as there you see 24 coming right into the pitcher. Almost had himself another interception.
7-time 1,000-yard receiver. Coburn, the handoff, has some room off the right side. First down, outside, and dropped at the 8-yard line. Avon Coburn chewing it up in this opening quarter.
Well, Avon Coburn was about 2 yards wider than Javi Glatt, who's the guy who's got to fill the hole. And he's got to come across, and watch how the speed of Coburn outruns Javi Glatt right there, number 6. That's how he gets the corner, because he ran through the hole and then to the outside with that great burst.
Took Reggie Miles to bring him down, not before he gained 18. 84 yards, and it's a first down at the Lion 8, first and goal. Calvillo looks to the corner, Watkins, touchdown.
Textbook route running from Kerry Watkins. Watkins gets isolated on Dante Marsh. And a penalty that shouldn't have been called has just cost the BC Lions a major. Post pattern and then breaks to the outside. That was textbook route running because Watkins goes down. He stemmed him into the middle. Marsh froze, and then he broke to the outside and was open on the timing throw.
5th touchdown catch of the year for Kerry Watkins. I was going to say there's no sympathy in Winnipeg that call was made, but Bomber fans might be cheering here. There's a block convert. Baron Miles blocking the kick. And the BC Lions are on it, and Baron Miles has just tied Gerald Vaughn on the all-time record book. The Alouettes are hot out of the gate tonight. Kerry Watkins, the touchdown catch. However, the point after, blocked by Baron Miles, his 12th all-time. Kick blocked. And Kerry Watkins saying hi to the folks back home.
Bilingual.
13-3, sort of.
Yeah, a little bit.
And this kick is going to bounce into the end zone. And Ian Smart's going to have to take a knee, so there's your convert back. And it is 14-3.
Let's take a look back at that Kerry Watkins touchdown as he's right up to the top left corner of your screen. The wide receiver, he comes off the ball and runs a post pattern, freezes Dante Marsh, and then runs right back to the out. And you can see Marsh just could not get there. And this is what, take a look right into the eyes of Anthony Calvillo, because he locked into Watkins and the timing on the throw was perfect. Impossible to defend if the timing is that good between quarterback and receiver.
Lions talked about disrupting the rhythm, but they haven't been able to do it yet. And now the BC Lions in a hole. Joe Smith takes the pitch. Cut down by Chip Cox behind the line of scrimmage. Loss of 2. Well, Baron Miles joins Gerald Vaughn, and what a play to block this convert.
Well, you're going to see just between Aaron Hunt, and there he is, Tyrone Williams, as Baron Miles goes up over the top, is untouched, takes advantage of the fact that the center has to have his head down and look through his legs to the holder on a field goal formation or an extra point formation. And there you have it. Gerald Vaughn and Baron Miles, the leaders in Canadian Football League history for block kicks. One more and Miles will have the title himself.
One more interception and he moves ahead of Glenn Suter from the all-time list. An incomplete pass and a punting situation and another slow BC Lions start.
Well, Joe Smith got nothing on first down, and the Lions have been very productive over the last 2 games, both wins on first downs. In fact, first downs are averaging around 8 yards. Now, Joe Smith, a lot of people talking about Stephon Logan, who had 2 good games back-to-back when Smith was hurt, and whether or not this is the right move. Wally Buono said that Joe Smith was a starting tailback, and we expect to see, at least I do, a good effort from Joe Smith tonight. There's competition in camp now.
Here's Larry Taylor. No yards penalty, and Taylor scampering around and breaking tackles up near the 45-yard line as he replaces Jason Armstead.
Well, in this first quarter, it feels like the BC Place Stadium turf is leaning to one side because it's been all Alouettes, which it's been throughout the season for the Montreal Alouettes. You saw the difference in scoring.
BC number 39, 15-yard penalty, first down.
They have just been dynamite out of the gate to start games off, and that's game planning. That's preparing. And the other thing that the Alouettes have an advantage in is that with Mark Trestman as a brand new coach to the Canadian Football League, the coaches in the rest of the league are trying to figure out exactly what he's going to bring to the table, and he's brought different looks that they have not seen. Even veterans like Wally Buono have not seen some of the looks that Mark Trestman has presented.
Third possession for Calvillo, and over the middle, that pass behind Kerry Watkins. Incomplete. Well, Anthony Calvillo, a veteran, thriving under this rookie head coach.
I mean, we are challenged like I've never been challenged before. Not only myself as a quarterback, but the receivers, because they are being moved around left and right, but it's working for us, and they're all stepping up to the challenge.
Anthony Calvillo certainly is on pace for close to 6,200 yards. Leading the league in passing, 2nd and 10, and Ben Cahoon holds on. Jolted by Tad Crawford, but Cahoon's made a ton of those catches in his career.
Well, Ben Cahoon is a possession receiver and has been for the last few years. And by possession, I mean it literally. When he gets even close in the same area code, he will bring it down. He took a hit there, a good hit from Tad Crawford at the top of your screen. The Lions playing with two deep safeties in the play, Barron Miles and Crawford. Crawford put a good hit on Cahoon, and he hangs on to the football.
You saw that stat. The Lions have done a good job of taking Cahoon away in recent years, averaging 48 yards a game in the last 2 seasons. But Cahoon off to a good start here. Opening quarter, and he has 3 catches for 36.
And when you have Kerry Watkins on the outside, now Cahoon, it's hard to double team Ben Cahoon every play.
Wilson lining up as a fullback, trying to clear the way for Avon Coburn. And Coburn wrestled down at the 39-yard line. Big Tyrone Williams brings him down.
You know, Mark Trestman, you heard Anthony Calvillo talk about Trestman and how he is a stickler for the details. I know that he likely looked at Avon Coburn's numbers over the last 2 weeks and said, look, when we won 2 games, we were averaging around 170 yards per game rushing. In the 2 games we lost, that dropped to 38. Maybe there's a trend here. 88 already for Avon Coburn.
2nd down, they give to Coburn again. And he's stopped at the 35. And he'll be short of the first down. The field goal unit sent back out for Montreal.
But this field has been tilted in Montreal's favor in this first quarter. The whole game has been played in the BC end of the field so far.
And that's been a familiar. This is the 5th straight game again, out of the blocks quickly. And that's the sign of a well-prepared team, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's a team that has done their film work. It's a team that is prepared. A lot of teams will script their first 10, 15 plays. You know, in the games they've lost, the last 2 have not been blowouts by any means.
Another 43-yard attempt for Duval. Off the upright, his last effort. This time he's going to miss. Oh, no, it brought back in. Looked like it started out to the right of the upright, but played that little fade.
Yeah, he played the
nice.
fade.
17-3 Alouettes. Welcome back to BC Place Stadium, and on the sidelines here again, Sarah Orleski.
Thanks so much, Chris. Although he hasn't played for the last 2 weeks, Joe Smith has certainly been a hot topic here in Vancouver. Already known as a man that beats to his own drum, he's made headlines for his actions off the field lately. He admitted that in the 2 weeks that he didn't play, he neither watched nor attended either of the Lions game, instead choosing to garden and read. Now, Wally Buono doesn't require his injured players to attend games, but I asked some of his Lions teammates whether or not it sent any sort of message, the fact that Smith was not here. The most common response was, that's just Joe being Joe. And this is what they said they've kind of come to expect from an eccentric player such as himself. Now, Jarius Jackson did say that he has noticed a difference in Joe Smith this week. He says that he's been more focused in practice and hasn't been quite so lackadaisical. Guys?
I guess so. With Stephon Logan and 220 yards in 2 games, all of a sudden there's a sense of urgency.
Bono said the Alouettes better buckle up, and they have in this game, and they get to Jarius Jackson. It's a sack. And at the bottom of the pile, it's Kai Ellis in his first game in 2008 getting to the quarterback.
You know, Kai Ellis deserves a lot of props for what he has been asked to do over the last couple of years with the Montreal Alouettes, and that he's asked to play middle linebacker. He does it well. He's asked to play rush end in this play, and he does it well against a very good tackle in Rob Murphy, and gets the sack on Jarius Jackson. That kind of versatility is a big help to a coaching staff.
Save that highlight. We haven't seen that happen very much against Rob Murphy. Here's Taylor. Looks shifty as he gets to the 35. High-octane Alouette offense led by Anthony Calvillo. Back out onto the field.
I'll take a look at Anthony Calvillo in his first 4 games of the 2008 season. He's completing about the same percentage of his passes that he did in 2007. But the big one that jumps off the page there is his touchdowns versus his interceptions. 11 touchdowns this year. In fact, he's on pace for a CFL record in touchdowns. And he can become one of a very exclusive group of quarterbacks who have thrown for 300 or more.
He's registered number 297 tonight. And now guns it downfield. This one is picked off, and there it is. Baron Miles, who tied Gerald Vaughn in block kicks earlier, has his first ever against his buddy Anthony Calvillo, and moves ahead of the former Saskatchewan Rough Rider legend, Glenn Suter. Number 52 leaves Glenn Suter in his wake.
And Baron Miles, I salute you. And he talked about it in training camp when I went out to do a story, and he's right at the top right-hand corner of your screen. He's playing that middle the way he does so well. Takes advantage of the overthrow from Anthony Calvillo, number 52 in what has been an amazing career that actually started in Montreal. He played corner for the first few years of his career and moved to safety, and he's one of the best.
Play action, Jackson sheds that tackle, looks downfield, and passes incomplete. Paris Jackson in a hand fight with local product Davis Sanchez. The fans wanted a flag, and there's Baron Miles.
Sorry, Lexi, I had to do it, baby.
Little acknowledgement to.
Well, there he is. I mean, it's not like we're, first or second. Les Brown has that one wrapped up. But Baron Miles told me in camp, he said, look, I'm going to pass you. I said, I know you're not going to pass. You're going to fly by. And he's now one ahead. But he said he wants to be second before the season's over. That means he's got to get going here. But Baron Miles, very capable of it.
And extra sweet, the first one ever against his good buddy, Anthony Calvillo. A screen to Joe Smith. And Smith to the 50-yard line is going to be 3 yards short.
I really thought we would see a very intense Joe Smith in this game. I thought you would see a guy, as Sarah mentioned earlier, that he practiced differently. He practiced with a little more urgency, a little more intense, demeanor. But the bottom line is I haven't seen it in this game so far. I mean, it seems like Joe is still not hitting the line with that same quickness and pop that he did last year.
That was an issue in week 2. And 4 carries for 7 yards so far in this game. Here's Taylor again. And he is bounced out at the 22-yard line. It's a 14-point Montreal lead. But right now, the Lion fans hoping that their team can get close here. There's a wide open receiver, Lyle Green, who had a couple of big catches in the second half last week against Winnipeg. Brought down by Estelle and Prue, but another first down.
Remember what Jim Young said early in the first quarter about how the offenses have changed in the CFL. This is what he's talking about. You see spread out receivers using the entire 65-yard width of the field. Lyle Green catches that underneath, and that makes the defense defend every inch of a football field that 65 yards long, wide and 110 long.
The ball at the 11, first and 10. Joe Smith straight ahead and pushed back after 3.
Spread formation really started with John Huffnagel and Wally Buono in Calgary when they had Doug Flutie, and they spread things out, and they really took guys like Joe Smith out of the game and made spread offenses with 6 receivers. The BC Lions will run 5 receivers and leave 1 back in the backfield, or they'll make Joe Smith a wideout and spread everybody out.
Walter Spencer checks in. Devon Claybrooks comes out. They can't make a first down without a touchdown. It's in the flat and dropped.
Yep.
Incomplete to the newcomer, Rufus Skillern. And that hurts.
Yeah, he tried to make his move and Plant go back to the middle before he caught the football. And you got to give him one in his first game. Number 87, he tries to make his move and take a peek at where he's going to get hit from just before he secures it. And I like to make the comparison there for all the people that are out there in the amateur golfers who stand over that first tee shot and then they lift their head. You know where the ball goes, right? That's the same sort of thing for a receiver.
You mentioned that about Terrence Edwards last night, and all he did is have an exceptional game after an early drop. And so McCallum drills it through, short range 16-yarder. And it's an 11-point Montreal lead. Wally Buono's team trying to keep their dominance alive over the Alouettes at home in the post-Climby era. How do you get caught from behind at the 1?
He didn't say who caught him. And that's what I'm wondering, if it was a D lineman or was it a DB?
Brett Anderson to kick it off. Second half underway. Diamond Ferry back. And he has wrestled down Jerome Dennis, the great tackle. Diamond Ferry, a 3-way threat at Syracuse when he returned kicks, played linebacker and running back. Getting a chance. Let's compare the quarterback numbers.
Anthony Calvillo, his numbers not very impressive, because in the first quarter it was really the Coburn quarter. Yvonne Coburn with a big first quarter, over 100 yards in the first half rushing, so Anthony Calvillo really didn't have to throw, although he had troubles in the second quarter. And Jarius Jackson got going in the second quarter a little bit better.
As his 12th touchdown pass, Calvillo does. And I guess it's a sign of how well Jackson's played of late that 181 yards of passing is a tough first half.
Yeah, well, it was a tough first quarter. And then, you know, he hit a deep one to Geroy Simon, started to get him going in the second quarter.
Now it's Calvillo to work, and he throws a fastball to Kerry Watkins, who drags tackler up to the 45 and a first down.
Well, you know that, Mark Trestman comes back in the second half. He starts the game with Avon Coburn and running the football on a huge drive. So the Lions' adjustment to that is to make sure their front 4 is looking for run all the way to make sure that they contain Avon Coburn and they don't allow big runs, and then Montreal goes to the passing game.
12-yard pickup. Javi Glatt finally brought him down after he dragged Dante Marsh a couple of yards over the middle. There's Jamel Richardson with the catch, and he's got another first down in midfield. Richardson with a touchdown catch in 3 straight games, including one against his old team, the Rough Riders, last week in Saskatchewan.
And he's in that highlight reel you talked about in the first half with receivers and catches this year. Made a beauty in Montreal with one hand in the end zone. Earlier in the year, quick passing game for Anthony Calvillo.
Getting back into a rhythm. There's Cahoon in motion. Hand off Coburn, and another hole as he slices through. And Avon Coburn close to 9 more.
Brian Chew gets a nice block. He's opened some holes up front. The 12-year veteran, the center for the Montreal Alouettes. Between him and Scott Flory, 341 games of experience in the Canadian Football League.
Excuse me, the spot of the ball is a first down across the 45.
And Chew just gets out there and gets on the linebacker, Javi Glatt. And you get the center on the linebacker, your running back's going to have a big day.
Vancouver product, Brian Chew in his 12th year. Play action. They swing it out, Brian Bratton, and what a great defensive play that is by Ryan Phillips.
Quick passing game keeps that front four off Anthony Calvillo. I talked to Brian Chew about the Lions front four. Tyrone Williams, Aaron Hunt, Cameron Wake, Brent Johnson, and he did not hesitate. He kind of looked at me quickly and said, Glenn, best I've played against. Best front four I've played against. They rush four, and that's how they can beat you because they're so good up front. This is our biggest challenge of the year when we play the BC Lions front four. I said, what about Winnipeg? They're pretty good. He said, yeah. Doug Brown is tough in the middle, no question. That's a good one. This is the best front four he's ever played against.
They've done the job tonight. They've opened up holes for Avon Coburn, protecting Anthony Calvillo. Remember, he's been sacked 26 times in the last 5 meetings. And again, it's Richardson. A little straight arm. And Richardson has another Montreal first down.
Well, one of the ways when you have an aggressive front four like the Lions have, one of the ways to try and beat them is to attack them. Rather than play to their strength, which is dropping back in deep set passing type plays where Calvillo is in that 7 or 9 step drop. See here, he's only about 5, so he's getting rid of the ball quickly and not allowing that front four to get there. But if you get a little running game going and can attack up front, you can have some success.
AC 4 for 4 on this drive. Will fake. He wanted to shovel it to Kerry Carter, but Richardson's wide open. Reggie Miles will drag him down. 3rd catch of the drive for Jamel Richardson. And Calvillo 5 for 5 out of the gate in the second half.
Jamel Richardson was open the entire time on the play. I think Calvillo wanted a little bit more. He had some time because that's the influence of Avon Coburn. So he had some time to look deeper, but no one was open deeper, so he dropped it off to Richardson, who was open the entire time.
Scott Milinovich, the offensive coordinator. Some good adjustments here for another first possession drive. They scored on a touchdown. First possession, first half, threatening again. Coburn a catch over the middle.
You mentioned how many times Anthony Calvillo has been sacked against the BC Lions, and they know that the best way to try and neutralize a good pass rush is to attack it with running plays or to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands as quickly as you possibly can. That's what Milinovich is doing right now. He's either mixing in Avon Coburn or he's having that quick step, 3-step drop out of the shotgun from Calvillo, and Calvillo gets rid of it before the rush can get there.
Darren Diedrich comes into the game as a tight end. This is the 8th play of the drive. 2nd down. Calvillo has Kerry Watkins, another Alouette first down, and he's drilled out of bounds. They'll mark him at about the 5-yard line.
And again, that front 5 for the Alouettes just neutralizing Aaron Hunt in the middle, and Tyrone Williams are not getting penetration. Watch Brian Chew one more time, the center. He slides with his left guard, Paul Lambert, basically neutralizing Aaron Hunt, who doesn't get by till the ball is long gone.
A precision drive engineered by Calvillo, and it's 1st and goal at the 5. Fake to Coburn to the goal line. Touchdown. Ryan Bratton has the touchdown. The 298th touchdown pass of Anthony Calvillo's career.
Well, he's climbing close to very elite company in that 300-yard, 300-touchdown pass club. This one, play action again off Avon Coburn on the fake in the middle. That holds the D-line and Otis Floyd, who's in a bit of a chase. Corey Banks come all the way across to try and help out his linebacker, but he can't get there in time, and Bratton has a touchdown.
First touchdown catch of the year for Brian Bratton. And a 77-play scoring drive for the Alouettes. Duvall does get this one through on the point after, and it's an 18-point Montreal lead.
Canada. No way. No.
Former Alouette Ian Smart has it from his 15. Following a couple of good blocks, but the penalty marker down as Smart took it across midfield. But it's coming back. Joe Smith, one of the men leading the blocking for Ian Smart. That's why he's back alongside Smart on kickoffs. 46-yard return, but.
And Joe Smith was slow to get up. He's still trying to gather himself. He stayed down on the turf for quite some time after the play.
Well, we've talked about the heat on Joe Smith. Wally Bono, in general terms, told us before the game, I'm not cutting anybody.
Major foul, cut block. Montreal number 11, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Wow, that's going the other way. Chip Cox called. Oh, Brian Bratton's first touchdown catch of the year has given the Alouettes the 24-6 lead.
You mentioned that club that Anthony Calvillo is moving into. There's only been 3 quarterbacks to throw for over 300 yards. Here's the cut block from Chip Cox on Joe Smith.
That's why Joe Smith was slow to get up. But Smith stays in, and Jackson airs it out, looking for Simon in coverage. Incomplete. Randy Drew was there, and so was Marcus Dell.
I talked to Baron Miles, some of the defenders for the BC Lions, about the secondary for the Alouettes, and we were talking about last night's game and Brandon Browner and a lot of the different DBs, and they felt that Marcus Dell is one of the best cover men in the CFL, which is high praise coming from pretty good cover men themselves. Estelle was in the trail position, and he had Randy Drew over the top to help him out. Drew almost had a chance at that as well, but they were just praising Marcus Estelle. I said, all right, I'm going to watch this guy out in the corner.
2nd and 10, early movement, maybe a free play, and almost picked off as it sailed over the outstretched hands of Reggie Hunt.
And that one, Jarius Jackson again kind of fading back as he threw. He had a little bit of pressure in front of him. But when he fades back and doesn't step into his throws, they have been high.
Offside, Montreal number 48, 5-yard penalty, repeat second down.
So they do get the down over. It'll be 2nd and 5. And the second penalty of the game after a penalty-free first half for the Alouettes. They've taken 2 early here.
There's the offside right there.
John Bowman.
And the good news for the Alouettes is that Kai Ellis is back as well, so that rotation can continue up front.
2nd and 5. Spencer showing blitz. Jarius Jackson and Matthew Prue almost had his second. Wrapped up the first half with an interception and had that one knocked out of his hands. I think as G-Roy Simon cruised by.
Well, I think G-Roy Simon became DB because Matthew Prue read that so early, and he knows where G-Roy Simon, you know, if you're a safety playing against the Lions, you're going to always know where Simon lines up and which side to favor. He was over there and had a beat on that football at the beginning, and Simon saves an interception. He becomes the DB.
Matthew Prue trying to solidify his position. Etienne Boulay released by the New York Jets, and he's expected to return to the Alouettes. Actually, Prue was in training camp at the will linebacker spot. Here is Paul McCallum. And McCallum drills that through. And so it's a 15-point Alouette lead.
No way! No!
Former Alouette Ian Smart has it from his 15. Following a couple of good blocks, but the penalty marker down as Smart took it across midfield. But it's coming back. Joe Smith, one of the men leading the blocking for Ian Smart. That's why he's back alongside Smart on kickoffs. 46-yard return, but.
And Joe Smith was slow to get up. He's still trying to gather himself. He stayed down on the turf for quite some time after the play.
Well, we've talked about the heat on Joe Smith. Wally Bono, in general terms, told us before the game, I'm not cutting anybody.
Major foul, cut block. Montreal number 11, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Wow, that's going the other way. Chip Cox called. Oh, Brian Bratton's first touchdown catch of the year has given the Alouettes the 24-6 lead.
You mentioned that club that Anthony Calvillo is moving into. There's only been 3 quarterbacks to throw for over 300 yards. Here's the cut block from Chip Cox on Joe Smith.
That's why Joe Smith was slow to get up. But Smith stays in, and Jackson airs it out, looking for Simon in coverage. Incomplete. Randy Drew was there, and so was Mark Estelle.
I talked to Baron Miles, some of the defenders for the BC Lions, about the secondary for the Alouettes, and we were talking about last night's game and Brandon Browner and a lot of the different DBs, and they felt that Mark Estelle is one of the best cover men in the CFL, which is high praise coming from pretty good cover men themselves. Estelle was in the trail position, and he had Randy Drew over the top to help him out. Drew almost had a chance at that as well, but they were just praising Mark Estelle. I said, all right, I'm going to watch this guy out in the corner.
2nd and 10, early movement, maybe a free play, and almost picked off as it sailed over the outstretched hands of Reggie Hunt.
And that one, Jarius Jackson again kind of fading back as he threw. He had a little bit of pressure in front of him. But when he fades back and doesn't step into his throws, they have been high.
Offside, Montreal number 48, 5-yard penalty, repeat second down.
So they do get the down over. It'll be 2nd and 5. And the second penalty of the game after a penalty-free first half for the Alouettes. They've taken 2 early here.
There's the offside right there.
John Bowman.
And the good news for the Alouettes is that Kai Ellis is back as well, so that rotation can continue up front.
2nd and 5. Spencer showing blitz. Jarius Jackson and Matthew Prue almost had his second. Wrapped up the first half with an interception and had that one knocked out of his hands. I think as G-Roy Simon cruised by.
Well, I think G-Roy Simon became DB because Matthew Prue read that so early, and he knows where G-Roy Simon, you know, if you're a safety playing against the Lions, you're going to always know where Simon lines up and which side to favor. He was over there and had a beat on that football at the beginning, and Simon saves an interception. He becomes the DB.
Matthew Prue trying to solidify his position. Etienne Boulay released by the New York Jets, and he's expected to return to the Alouettes. Actually, Prue was in training camp at the will linebacker spot. Here is Paul McCallum. And McCallum drills that through. And so it's a 15-point Alouette lead. 15-point Alouette lead. They take over at their own 35 after the McCallum field goal. And there's the old combination. AC to Ben Cahoon, a first down. Let's join Sarah Orleski.
Thanks so much, Chris. The Alouettes have certainly seen their share of different personalities at the helm over the last 3 seasons, from Don Matthews to Jim Popp, and now Mark Trestman. Well, when I asked some of the players what the biggest differences that they've noticed under Trestman so far, the first answer has been tempo. Davis Sanchez says he hasn't gotten this much out of practices in the last 10 years. And Anthony Calvillo took it a step further and said it's not just on the field, but also off. From meetings and on, everything has been about tempo, and the players are eating it up so far.
And we have seen plenty of evidence of that tonight. Jamel Richardson's dropped the ball, and the Lions have it. Now it's dropped again. Who's on it? And there'll be a couple of questions. Was the initial catch made? And was Reggie Miles down when he dropped it? The Alouettes get it back and find out if we get a challenge here.
Reggie Miles picked it up. He went down, but I don't think he was touched when he was down. And he got hit, and it looked like Montreal got it back. It came out, and Montreal recovered the second fumble.
Jamel Richardson shaken up after the initial fumble.
Let's take a look at it again, because
follow the bouncing ball.
Yeah, Reggie Miles, number 20, the extra defensive back. He gets the first one. That's catch and possession. Now the ball comes out.
Glatt with the strip.
Now Miles goes down there, but, well, he was hit when he went down. Now, did he fumble it before his knee made contact? I thought he went down on his own.
Ben Cahoon forced the fumble.
And that one replay is enough for Wally Buono to want to take another look, because if Reggie Miles, who had possession of the ball, was down by contact before he fumbled, then it would be BC football. Mark Trestman is just concerned right now with Jamel Richardson and his health.
Brian Chu also being helped off, so costly play. So we have a couple of potential challenges. We're getting one for BC on whether or not Reggie Miles was down or not. If BC won the challenge, could Mark Trestman then challenge whether Richardson really made the catch? Because that was a bang-bang play as Javi Glatt knocked it out of Richardson's hands.
I guess technically you could. I mean, here is the, does he have possession long enough there?
It's out pretty quickly.
Or is that ruled incomplete and then it doesn't matter anyway? Now Reggie Miles has it here. He gets up. Well, that angle is tough to tell. But if Reggie Miles is down by contact before he fumbles the ball, that's what Wally Buono wants to see. Did he even have possession?
I'm not sure that was a catch. Now, was Miles down is the Lion challenge that is currently on the docket.
It took us 3.5 minutes to try and explain it through 3 different replay angles. Here we go.
After review, the BC ball carrier contacted the ground before he fumbled. The ruling on the field is overturned. BC ball.
It's BC Lion football.
So there's the ruling. The Jamel Richardson catch counts and fumble. So that was not an incompletion. That was a catch and fumble. Reggie Miles was down by contact before he fumbled. So this is ruled a catch because they had to look at that too. Although it depends. I mean, maybe they didn't go back that far. They may have just looked at the replays of Reggie Miles going down and not gone back as far as the catch or no catch on Jamel Richardson.
Last week, the Alouettes had a touchdown taken off the board, a fumble recovery by Davis Sanchez when they said no catch, and I'm sure Mark Trestman thinks that that play is similar and should have been ruled incomplete. Looked like that ball was popped out or popping out before he hit the deck, but that's the way Murray Clark has called it. It's a fumble recovery for Reggie Miles and a critical turnover for the Lions.
It's all good. We got the ball back.
Halfway through this third quarter, Joe Smith to work, left side. And Smith crashing down to the 44, has 4.
Interesting ruling. You know, just to get back to Joe Smith, the guys in the panel talked about Joe, and I thought a very interesting debate about what happens in the dynamic of a team when a player chooses maybe not to support the team like most of the players would. And what Joe Smith did when he was hurt was stay home. He didn't come out to the games. The policy for the Lions is quite simple. You don't have to. They'd like you to come to the games if you're hurt. They'd like you to be on the sideline if you want, or you can sit in the stands. That's their policy, but you don't have to.
2nd and 6, big rush. Jarius Jackson got it away. It's a completion. And Skillern with the catch. A great tackle by Chip Cox to hold Skillern a yard short of the first down.
We'll see if they go to Big Joe here and gamble on 3rd down. Wally Buono's done it once already in this game. It's a long yard. And after Rufus Skillern dropped that one early on, he was just securing the catch. He wasn't thinking about running afterwards. And they are going to go.
Joe Smith converted a third down gamble in convincing fashion. His best run of the first half, a 7-yard run on 3rd and 1. 3rd and a couple here, and Smith finds room into the secondary, and another big run. Number 33's been at his best on 3rd down tonight. 11 yards, his best run of the night.
Matt Dunnigan's opinion was it doesn't matter as long as the player shows up and plays on game day. And I would agree with that, except for the fact that if it starts to trickle into the locker room and the guys don't think that he's quite as committed, then it can affect the chemistry of a football team. But if Joe Smith keeps getting first downs when they gamble on 3rd, everyone will be happy.
Now a 6-receiver set. First down for the 29. Jarius Jackson takes off. Diamond Ferry, first man to get a hand on him, and Marcus Dell moved up. Jarius Jackson taken down at the 24, and he has 5.
And is Marcus Dell slow to get up? He's a little woozy trying to gain his composure on that outside. Again, Estelle, this is a play that you don't often see in pro football. Is basically a designed and called quarterback sweep. See it in high school all the time with running quarterbacks, but in order to protect quarterbacks in pro, you don't see it very often.
You can do it when your quarterback's 232 pounds. Fade route. Paris Jackson couldn't bring it down, but the flags fly. Davis Sanchez had a hold on Paris Jackson, who's been hurt. Jackson tried to make the one-handed catch. And it looks like he landed on that right shoulder.
Davis Sanchez held Paris Jackson's left hand down. Didn't let his
in the end zone. Ball is placed at the 1-yard line. First down.
See it down right in front of that 30-yard mark as he comes straight fade route, as you mentioned. And at the end of this, Davis Sanchez is going to hold his left hand and not allow Paris Jackson to reach up and get it. And as he reached for it with the right hand, he went down on that shoulder. Definitely pass interference. You can't hold the hand of the receiver, and he gave him a little shot in the back as well. Now, clearly, that's pass interference. You just can't pull his arm down like that with the ball in the air.
Perfect touch by Jarius Jackson. It would have been a touchdown, but for the interference, and now the concern. Last week, Corey Rogers, and now Paris Jackson. Up slowly. Bill Rochelle out to attend to the Ranger receiver. One of those guys that you put in the category of ratio buster.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of good Canadian receivers in this game. Paris Jackson, Jason Claremont, the newcomers for Montreal, Danny Darable. So he's been quiet tonight. The Alouettes when they're on the offensive side.
Ben Cahoon taking most of those reps now after Darabo did such a nice job in his absence. First and goal from the 1. Second man through. Joe Smith. Touchdown.
Stephon Logan played real well for 2 games, but this was the area of concern with Stephon Logan in the game on those short yardage plays. They were stopped a couple of times when he was in the lineup, and they haven't been stopped when Joe Smith has run the football. So peace of mind for Wally Buono to know that in short yardage, whether it be gambling on 3rd down in the middle of the field, which he's done a few times here tonight, or down on the goal line, he's guaranteed 3 or 4 yards from Joe Smith, and that's real peace of mind for a head coach.
So a touchdown after the turnover, a contentious turnover. And McCallum on to make it an 8-point game. It tightens up here at BC Place Stadium.
Yeah, coaches will tell you that when you need a yard or 2, if you have a guy that can get it to you guaranteed, well, there's no guarantees in life, but if you can get it 90% of the time, that's the peace of mind you're looking for, and Joe Smith has delivered that for sure here tonight. What he hasn't had is that big run from the line of scrimmage that we saw many times last year.
Here's the newcomer, Larry Taylor. Jamal Johnson tracks him down quickly. A little momentum in the step of the BC Lions right now. For every sack in tonight's game, Purolator donates the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purolator, where business is going. Kai Ellis with the only sack tonight. The Lions leading on the season.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little research on this for next week, but it seems to me that those numbers are down a little bit this year. The offensive lines have turned it up. I think this Montreal offensive line we mentioned early in the game is a lot better. By this time last year, we were in the 20s with a couple of teams.
Cam Wake, the league leader, was 6. He's been quiet tonight. Noisy building, and that pass for Coburn broke it up. Ryan Phillips there.
That is interesting. Cam Wake with Jeff Parrott one tackle and Josh Burke on the other. Guys with not a lot of experience, and we haven't mentioned Cam Wake at all in this game tonight. But you know, we've seen him this year, or certainly last year, but we've seen him this year too, get off to slow starts in games and then just decide to turn it on. And when he flips that switch, he is unstoppable.
2nd and 10, and Anthony Calvillo's got to deal with this noise. 6 receivers out. Guns it over the middle. Guess who? Another tough catch by Ben Cahoon.
But do you see how Anthony Calvillo, who has such chemistry with Ben Cahoon, throws this throw to protect his receiver? There's Ben Cahoon right there. He's going to come right down the seam. Watch how low and inside the throw is from Anthony Calvillo. If he leads Cahoon and puts it high, he gets hit in the ribs. But he protects his buddy by throwing it nice and low into the stomach so that Cahoon can brace himself for the hit over the middle.
5th catch, that for 20 yards for Ben Cahoon. Remember what the great start he got off to last year. First 4 games, 41 catches. Here's Coburn, and there's Cam Wake hauling him down.
Cam Wake is quick enough to be able to make that play on a running play and get contained if he has to. If Anthony Calvillo decides to pull the football and get to the corner, he can slide down like that and has the speed and quickness to make the tackle there, although Coburn got pretty good yardage. But he can also readjust, redirect, and cut off Calvillo if he pulls the ball.
Second and 2. Calvillo to the air. Cahoon's got another catch. Gets away from 1 Miles. Baron Miles will take him down after Reggie missed the tackle.
Cahoon has such strong hands that the play and the gamble that Reggie Miles tries is not going to work with Ben Cahoon. First of all, he's a veteran. He's going to put the ball away once he makes this catch. And Miles tries to punch it out. Rather than make the tackle and limit the gain, he tries to punch the ball out. That's not going to happen against Ben Cahoon.
His old teammate Baron Miles finished him off, and Ben thought there should have been a flag for the late hit. Alouettes marching. Calvillo rolling now, reverses field, and is dropped at the 26-yard line. Got back to the line of scrimmage and an extra yard when things close down.
We've seen how Avon Coburn can run the football. He can also block pretty well. He's number 6 right here. He steps up, and he's going to try and help get Calvillo to the corner. So he comes up and he helps out on Cameron Wake. Then he slides over and he plays on Aaron Hunt. Calvillo decides to take it back up in the middle, but pretty nice blocking by a little tailback in Avon Coburn.
Battle of the Hunt brothers here tonight. Reggie and Aaron, 2nd and 9, time. And that one just thrown away. Nobody in the neighborhood. Brian Bratton was well covered down the one sideline. And I think Anthony Calvillo just decided not to make a mistake.
Yeah, and Brian Bratton, it looked to me like he was supposed to go to the middle. He decided not to. He was well covered, so the veteran quarterback gets his field goal team out there.
So Duval comes on.
Impressive drive for the Alouettes. It looked to me like the Lions were starting to turn up their intensity defensively, and the Alouettes took the challenge and still moved the football.
Duval from 33 out. And Damon Duval puts it through. And the Alouettes lead now is 27-16. 27-16, less than a half minute to go in the third quarter. I don't think Duval heard the play whistled in, and they almost took a time count there. Here's Ian Smart, great return. Ian Smart bolting downfield. One man could catch him. No, he's gone. Ian Smart, touchdown.
And no flags.
For number 2, the former Alouette.
Well, you know, Chris, the message from Wally Buono at halftime was eliminate the penalties and just allow your returner, Ian Smart, to get some positive yards. No penalties on the play. Good blocking at the point of attack. Smart does the rest. He accelerates through the hole and just runs away from any would-be tacklers. He is gone.
The special team player of the year in 2007 lights up BC Place Stadium with a 92-yarder, and it's a 4-point game on the final play of the third quarter. The BC Lions chipping away. Thanks in large part to Ian Smart. Anwar Stewart shaking up on that last punt cover team. 50 points on the board tonight. We had a beauty last night in Winnipeg. Last Sunday, 66 points between the Argos and Eskimos. Offense is back. Big plays on special teams are back. And it should be a very intriguing fourth quarter. Lions trying to come back, down by 4. And here's Claremont. Quiet night for Claremont, and he can't shake the tackle of Chip Cox. Claremont's second catch.
Another open field tackle by Chip Cox, who doesn't have much help on a play like that where he's got one-on-one and he has to come up and try and get that receiver down. He's made a couple in the open field.
Holds the gain to 7, 2nd and 3. Receiver package with Smith. Play action. G-Roy Simon first down, and he'll be drilled out right at the stick. And our gentleman on the yardage chains takes the brunt of that, but gets up. He's ready to go.
Well, it happens fast down there, and the rule for the guys with the chains is to lay them down as quickly as you can and get out of the way, but it happens pretty fast. When you get down to the field, and had guests go down and they say it rumbles down there when you listen to the guys, and he's okay.
Got a gamer down there. Everybody wants to be a gladiator on Friday night.
He's got to take a few more hits like that before he'll be considered.
Here's Joe Smith, big hole, and he'll rumble into Montreal territory to the Alouette 44, his best run of the night. Joe Smith starting to heat up. 18. And that's Joe being Joe.
Now he's starting to get going a little bit. You know, the confidence built on those short yardage plays.
Into the hurry up. And G-Roy looking deep, looking for Paris Jackson. Touchdown! What a catch! A little push to give him some room. And there is no flag.
Looked like there was confusion with the Montreal Alouettes on defense before the snap of the football. They were trying to find their assignments. Jarius Jackson, look how they're all bunched up. They're not aligned properly. No one reacts to the snap of the ball, and Jarius Jackson has time to sit in there nicely and drop it over the top to Paris Jackson, who's recovered from the shoulder injury, obviously.
Happy birthday, Paris Jackson, a 43-yarder.
Check out the confusion from the Montreal defense. They're in a bunch. They're not lined up. Look at Chip Cox and Randy Drew right here. They're waving at each other. They're not even sure what the coverage is. Meanwhile, the BC Lions are attacking the line of scrimmage. Paris Jackson notices that they are confused. They don't have the defense called and gets in behind a napping Alouette defense.
First touchdown of the year for Paris Jackson, a 43-yarder. And the Lions have their first lead of the game. Larry Taylor on the return, and he's still going. Taylor breaks it. Flag down. Anybody going to catch him? And he is caught by Ryan Phillips inside the 15-yard line. But again, a penalty marker on the play. Larry Taylor in his CFL debut, giving you a little indication of how dangerous he might be.
Well, yeah, that's the good news for Montreal. The bad news is I think this is coming back due to penalty. And you got to love the hustle from Ryan Phillips, who did not know there was a penalty flag down. And he tracked down Larry Taylor.
Control number 0. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Sean Gallant, so penalties that were not taken in the first half have been costly in the second half.
I love those plays, though, when guys do not give up. I mean, that was a nice run by Larry Taylor, and Ryan Phillips did not give up. He didn't know there was a penalty, and he took off, got on his horse, and ran him down. And now the downside for Phillips is he's got to play defense.
An 82-yard kick return brought back, and here's wide open. Brian Bratton. Can anybody catch him? No, Bratton all the way for the touchdown. 75 yards, and just like that, the Alouettes are back in front.
And guess who was too tired to get his hands on Brian Bratton after that run on the special teams? Ryan Phillips. To the left of your screen, you'll see 21, who's got to get his hands. Here comes Brian Bratton down the seam. And you see 21, he's back there in coverage. He's not supposed to be deep with Bratton, but he had to get the jam on him to slow him down, and he was just too tired to do it. Brian Bratton ran right by him.
So touchdown pass number 298. 299 for Anthony Calvillo. Makes it a 4-point game.
I'll show you another angle of what I'm talking about with Ryan Phillips. He had just run down Larry Taylor, a play that was called back, and the very next, he's right here in your screen. Now his job as Brian Bratton's coming down the line and down the seam here is to get his hands and reroute him, stop him right there, get his hands on his shoulder pads. He kind of let him go by without any contact, did not slow him down, and he gets deep in a hurry. So a good hustle play turns into disaster for Ryan Phillips.
So Brian Bratton has a pair of touchdowns in this game.
This is very difficult for Phillips, and he almost needed a timeout. He chases down Larry Taylor right there. That was about a 75-yard run, and he was behind Taylor by about 20 to begin with, so he had to put on the jets, and then here he is. He didn't get his tank refilled, and he just kind of lets Bratton go right through the seam.
You know, the Lions have 9 defensive backs in their lineup on the roster for this game. You wonder if on a play like that you don't bring a guy up?
Well, clearly the coaching staff didn't notice it, and Phillips didn't say anything and didn't go down on a knee, but another
wild night in the CFL. And And Ian Smart this time contained just beyond the 25-yard line.
Now, in fairness to Phillips, he needed some help from that inside player. I think it was Reggie Miles. They could have sandwiched him there. Plus, there's also a deep defender in behind. I believe that was Baron Miles, and he got caught short. So the combination of the three things, and Brian Bratton says, okay, I don't see mistakes in this Lions secondary very often. We'll take advantage of it, and that's a big one.
Out of a double tight end formation, the fake to Smith. Anwar Stewart trying to track down Jarius Jackson, who gets away. Outside TJ Hill, and to the first down stick again. Jarius gets on his horse.
Well, they've run this tight end formation where they bring Lyle Green up and he becomes the tight end, and they've run Joe Smith off that left side a bunch of times. So this is the change up to that. There's Lyle, and this is how they're going to do it. A fake to Joe Smith, and out around the corner comes Jarius Jackson the opposite direction. It doesn't fool Anwar Stewart, but Jackson's speed gets him to the outside.
This play will require a measurement. 27 yards on the night for Jarius Jackson. He had 32 last week, starting to run the football a little bit more. And just inches short, which may set up a free BC play.
I mentioned at the beginning of the game about their first down production after 4 weeks. Just amazing at 8.3 yards off first down.
And 9.4 last week.
Just, you know, that if you can get 5 yards on first down, that's a good situation. And 8.3 is just outstanding. And right now, the offensive line for the BC Lions is starting to really establish themselves. A little misdirection there, and Jarius Jackson's speed helps them, but they're pounding the ball in there and getting a little movement on the line of scrimmage.
Dave Moyer, our crack stats man, says they're 7.9 tonight, first down production, so below their average, but above average around the league. A little hitch screen to Geroy Simon. Not much there, enough to get the first down.
Enough to get the first down, and that was a lateral too. And a tricky catch. You could see Geroy Simon going, that was a lot harder than it should have been. That was a lot harder than we drew it up in practice. Because that was a lateral. It was thrown behind the line of scrimmage and behind the quarterback, Jarius Jackson.
Montreal's done a good job on Geroy Simon last year. Just 3 catches in the 2 games for 46 yards. And Geroy approaching 100, but that's a good night defensively again. Jarius Jackson, his own number, and he'll crash down to the 21, close to another first down. Matthew Prue comes up without the helmet.
Well, how about the toughness of Jarius Jackson? He had a bad first quarter. I mean, he's had a couple of games in a row now where he's got out of the gate not very good. And then he has slowly got his game together, both passing, and then late now he's put in a couple of runs, and that's a tough one. He took a couple of big hits there. He gets piled on by Karan Williams. He doesn't hook slide and picks up big yards. He knows how important it is right now. You're down by 4 with this game running out.
Less than 7 minutes to go. 2nd and 1. Joe Smith left side, first down. It has been the season for the Lions. Slow start for Jarius Jackson in almost every game, and he gets better as the night progresses.
You know, and you start to earn even, or gain more respect, I should say, for Jarius Jackson as that goes on, because it really shows mental toughness to get off to a slow start, but hang in there. You know, just stay with it. He keeps battling away. He had some real poor throws in the first quarter, overthrowing some targets, but he hung in there, and now he's using his legs a little bit more.
First down, Lions driving from the 16 of Montreal into the corner for Claremont, and incomplete. Good coverage by the Sam linebacker, TJ Hill.
Nice luxury. TJ Hill, 5'9", 185 pounds, number 2 in the CFL coming into this week in tackles, so he can play the run, but then can go and cover a guy like Jason Claremont. It's an all-star in the making. That's the tweener. The famous tweener position on defense. But that's the smallest tweener you'll find.
And Tim Strickland was in that same mold, but now it's TJ Hill.
That's a tiny tweener.
2nd and 10 from the 17. Jarius Jackson steps up in trouble. Karan Williams has got him.
I love that.
And wrestles him down for a sack.
Big pressure from Karan Williams, and he goes through the double team too. Karan Williams, I mean, this is good pressure. I love the hustle from Jarius Jackson at the end of the play. Watch Karan Williams right here. He's going to have Dean Valley and Jason Jimenez and a bit of a double team as they both, and he keeps coming. He fights through that double team, and then look at the effort from Jackson here to try and break the tackle. It's not just week 5 for these guys. They're playing, they're giving it, they're leaving everything they've got between the stripes.
Both teams battling to get over 500. 27-yard attempt by Paul McCallum. Makes no mistake, makes it a 1-point game. Alouettes still with the lead. Tonight's game story brought to you by MGD. Nothing to hide.
Coburn got off to the great start. G-Roy Simon passed Jim Young tonight. He needed 4 yards, and in the opening play, got a lot more than that. And a big second half for the BC Lions, sparked by the Ian Smart kickoff return for a touchdown.
Huge play by Diamond Ferry, sets up 2nd and 24. Jackson airs it downfield, and this one's easy picking for Davis Sanchez. The North Delta product brought down by Brett Anderson. But first the sack, and now a costly pick for Jarius Jackson.
It is costly because it takes up about 20 yards of field position. Had the BC Lions gone 2 and out and punted the football, they would be way deep in Montreal Alouette territory. But that put them in the problem that the play was made earlier on. Watch Diamond Ferry to play before on this sack. He's going to get some help from the outside on Randy Drew to take up a block. Anwar Stewart goes down. Look at Drew right there. Randy Drew takes up Lyle Green. That opens up the alley. That was the big play to put the Lions in a hole. And then they make the next mistake with the interception.
Sanchez's first of the year, and now pressure on Calvillo, who throws it away incomplete. Cam Wake had Calvillo in his grasp, and Anthony a little slow to get up.
This is that speed I was talking about with Cameron Wake. Cameron Wake is over here, and watch how he's going to come down a few steps and then be quick enough to get back to the outside. There's not many defensive ends in the game that can go inside on the run like that and chase down the quarterback.
That'll cue the noise here. 2:29 on the clock, 2nd and 10. They dump it off underneath. Davon Coburn cuts back and close to the first down, but brought down at midfield. He's going to be a yard and a half short, and that was a big play by Reggie Miles to prevent the chains being moved.
It was, and it makes it a difficult decision now for Mark Trestman. Nice call to go for draw. You got to try and fool the BC Lions and hope that they're not in man-to-man. They weren't. Avon Coburn cuts back against that flow, and they are going to punt the football. I like this decision for Mark Trestman because 2:20 left.
It's almost 2 yards.
And it's a long 2, first of all, but with 2:20 left, you've got time to put your defense on the field. You've got to have confidence in them to get a 2 and out. If you gamble and lose here, you're giving up almost field goal range after 1 first down.
But after the sack and the interception, a real difference in field position. But Ian Smart's back, and he's done some damage tonight. High but not deep. And this one will bounce inside the numbers, and no room for Smart to bring it back. Good play by Duval, a 36-yard directional punt. No return.
Yeah, really a perfect kick. He's going to give his defense an opportunity. With a 2 and out here, they should get decent field position back. 2 or 3 first downs, and this is where you find out if Wally Buono made a real good decision, and if Joe Smith can eat up the clock and get some first downs. Now there may be a little pass in here. It is the Canadian Football League, and putting the ball in the air is mandatory. But this is where they want to. This is where we want to get Joe Smith involved and pound it in there too. Keep him off balance.
Jackson rolling, and that one thrown into the turf with some more heat. And now it's 2nd and 10.
Yeah, now Jarius Jackson. They've got Geroy Simon, who's had some cramp issues.
Yeah, I was trying to track him down, and they're taping him up. And he's not available. So the most dangerous weapons on the sidelines. Rufus Skillern, Paris Jackson, Clarence Coleman, Brett Anderson out there, and some concern on the sidelines as they dump it off, and that's Joe Smith out of the backfield for the first down.
Yeah, I really think Joe Smith would be a key in this drive because there's lots of time for Jarius Jackson. They only need field goal range.
That's a big 2nd down and 10 conversion.
Yeah, it is. Whether it be just dump it out to Joe Smith. They were winning the line of scrimmage in their last series, and they've got lots of time to keep the run involved.
It's one thing to lose Corey Rogers, but to see Geroy Simon taped up like that on the sidelines has to be a worry for the Lions. Long out. And there's Skillern, who drops the ball. They're ruling incomplete. There's Waldo in the corner, the newcomer, taking the spot of Marcus Stell, who is not in that defensive formation right now. And the rookie makes the play.
Yeah, and at 129, you start to get into that 3-down territory for the Lions. Good hit by Waldo on the outside.
And check that. That was Clarence Coleman with the incompletion. Coleman 89. Another 2nd and 10. Pressure. Got it away. And it's going to be a catch short of the first down. They had to get to the 43, and Claremont just got beyond the 40. They'll give them the 41, but it's 3rd and 2, minute 24 left.
They bring in the elephant team, short yardage team for the BC Lions.
Eric Wilson checks in on the defensive line.
BC.
For Montreal, Wally Buono wants to take a timeout to talk about this. 3rd and 2. With Dan Durazio alongside.
And the discussion usually goes something like this. Is this where you try and go with the fake to Joe Smith? He's been great in short yardage all night long. I felt he would still be important on this drive for a couple of reasons. One, there was lots of time left to keep pounding it in there, and they were moving the ball with Joe Smith. Sooner or later, you got to throw it, obviously, but I think the discussion was, do you go with the fake and play action, try and fool the Alouettes, or do you just pound it in there one more time?
Here we go. They hunker down. 3rd and 2. Joe Smith, the ball carrier. Joe Smith, first down.
And then some.
Joe's being Joe, and that's why he's so valuable.
And he has not been denied on any of these short yardage plays. He gets first contact right about the first down marker, and then he takes the defense for a ride after that.
And with Simon on the sidelines, you wonder if we won't see more of him. More pressure. Jarius gets it downfield. There's Brett Anderson. Ball comes loose. Who's got it? I think Jason Claremont vacuums it up.
Well, there's the play of the game if the Lions come back and win this one, because Brett Anderson makes the nice catch. He's trying to present a target because Jarius Jackson was in trouble. Now, was his knee down by contact anyway?
Yeah, it looked like he was down. Took quite a jolt after making his first reception of the season. But an alert play by Claremont makes that academic. 7-yard gain, 2nd and 3. There's Claremont again, the catch, first down. TJ Hill been tracking him all night. But BC's moved it to the Montreal 49-yard line with 49 seconds on the clock.
A first down and a half, and the Lions are in field goal range. Jarius Jackson involving Joe Smith early in this drive. He has plenty of time. He didn't have to deviate too far from the game plan. Claremont with a couple of clutch catches and one fumble recovery.
Trying to grind it out here. More pressure, but Paris Jackson's got the catch. In front of Randy Drew, and they'll mark it at the 40-yard line. Close to another first down.
And this is Joe time.
Looks like it'll be 2nd and 1. And now it would be a 47-yard McCallum attempt. But they've got plenty of time to improve his range.
Interesting formation, bunch wide.
Yeah, he is going to sneak ahead and get the first down.
I love this formation, and I'm surprised it's not used more because it gets more people out of the box. Gets more defenders away from where you want to run. A lot of times teams will bring in the short yardage and they clog up that area called the box right around the offensive line a yard deep. But you spread out receivers like that, you take defenders away because they have to go out and cover down.
And when you've got the big boys like them up front, you get the push that you need. 36 seconds remaining.
Timeout, Montreal.
And the Alouettes have called their timeout.
Set the clock to 41 seconds. 41.
They're going to put 5 seconds back on the clock. 41 seconds here in the building anyway. 1st and 10. And BC in field goal range to spoil Mark Trestman's night. Another really good football game.
Oh, absolutely.
Is this just Joe Smith for 41 seconds?
Absolutely.
Until Paul McCallum
you pound it in there. First of all, you want to end up in the middle of the field, but get it a little closer so that Paul McCallum can step into it. I know he's going to want to just stroke the ball and go for the field goal, but if he can get closer and hit it hard, at least he can tie it if he happens to pull it. But if they can pound it in there with 41 seconds left, get another first down out of it. Well, they might not even do that.
His longest of the season, longest tonight, 39 yards. Joe Smith, and they were waiting for him that time. Flagged down, however, as he's tossed to the turf by Karan Williams, the former Calgary Stampeder.
See, there's the difference, though, on those two formations. Bunch formation took defenders away, and then they brought in that tight formation, and it brought defenders in, and Joe Smith had nowhere to run.
And this is a costly penalty.
Illegal formation, no end, BC. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Moves them back 5. Moves it back to the 40. 1st and 15. And does that alter the play selection?
Well, it puts a lot more pressure on Paul McCallum, that's for sure. And I would think so, yeah. They might even have to put it up one more time. Good night going tonight at 4 for 4. Hasn't had a lot of attempts in 4 weeks. 6 of 9 coming in.
Jarius Jackson's been dangerous with his legs tonight. Will he pull it down or put it up? And is that a time count?
Oh, a time count violation.
So a loss of down as well. It was 1st and 15.
Time count violation. BC number 7. Loss of down. 2nd down.
You know, there has been some confusion on the last 2 plays. I mean, with the first one, no end on the line of scrimmage. It didn't look like anyone knew where to line up for the Lions. And then this one, a time count. Crucial mistakes from a veteran team.
Ball stays at the 40, 2nd and 15. Jackson to throw, dumps it off. Joe Smith down to the 28-yard line. And that'll set it up. 12 yards 6 for Smith. It'll be 3rd and 3. That loss of down costly. But it should be in Paul McCallum range.
Well, the other thing, though, Chris, it'll give if they have to kick it now because of it's 3rd and 3. You don't want to try and gamble here if you're the Lions. No way. You have to try a field goal here. You knock this in, you're going to give Anthony Calvillo some time.
Well, you run it down, though. You take 20. They have taken their time out.
You give him at least a play, maybe 2 plays. He'll try and throw it up, likely take the ball. But McCallum has to make it first.
It's on the foot of Paul McCallum now. Trying to go 5 for 5 on the night. This from 36 yards out. For the lead, potentially for the win. And Paul McCallum is good.
8 seconds left. Final instructions to Baron Miles from Wally Buono. McCallum nails it.
Big play by Joe Smith on that 12-yard gain out of the backfield.
Yeah, there was 2 just like it. You know, 1 early to start this drive and then 1 late to get McCallum into realistic range. He didn't think about putting that through the back to tie at all. He just stroked it and put it right down the middle. Now the Lions will line up about 30, 40 yards deep. They don't want to get a pass interference call, and the Alouettes are hoping and get a miracle or that interference call. We've had a couple come down the wire of late.
8 seconds on the clock. 30 points in the second half for BC, and Calvillo down. Brent Johnson. Third sack of the year for Johnson. First sack of the night for the Lions.
Calvillo was trying to buy himself some time so that he could throw that ball down in a Hail Mary and possibly get an interference call or a miraculous catch. He'd have to buy a lot more time.
Last call, and Adrian McPherson's in. Scrambling around, and he'll be dropped. Johnson and Wake again. No, he shovels it off, and look out. They're going to thunder with Jeff Parrott down the field. And it's in the hands of Aaron Hunt, and this game is over. Another wacky finish, and another great night of football. BC prevails 36-34. Wally Buono's team has won its 3rd straight, and the Alouettes have dropped 3 in a row.